What's up, everybody? I'm Reverend Nia.
I'm Minister Wallace.
My name is Reverend Tiff, and welcome to Millennial Conversations.
Millennial Conversations is a Bible study specifically for young adults where we teach through dialogue and have candid conversations from an emerging generation of leaders.
Be sure to repost and share with the hashtag RTMC. That means Read Temple Millennial Conversations. And don't forget to engage with us in the chat.
You can tune in to our Read Temple website, Facebook page, and YouTube channel every Thursday at 7 p.m. So grab your pens.
Grab your notebooks.
And join us for tonight's rap session. Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another Millennial Conversations. This is our second week of our discussion under the heading Mental Health Matters, and we have another wonderful guest with us on tonight, and I'm going to have her introduce herself at this time.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Corona Boston. I am a licensed professional counselor, in addition to an art therapist, and I also have credentialing as a DPT, which is dialectical behavioral therapy, that focuses on just the way we think and how we feel, incorporation of mindfulness, and is a really good modality with the population I work with that suffers from suicidal ideations and just a lot of self-destructive behaviors.
Awesome. Those credentials alone makes me think, oh, she's, like your shirt says, she's Black Girl Magic, all that. But let's jump right in. Fundamental question, what made you want to become a mental health professional?
You know, it's kind of like a fully loaded question, because I think sometimes people pose it, but and they expect people to kind of know right from the beginning what they wanted to do. But I was on the fence, you know, and so I feel like it was some interest in being a elementary school teacher, then maybe you know, working with children as a I can't even think of the name, but as a pediatrician, yeah. And then being a graduate of Bowie State, my undergrad, Bowie State University.
Hey, way!
Yeah, I took this course, Chania, called Music, Play, and Art Therapy. And so when I took that course, I learned that it was actually a profession where you can infuse, you know, the arts. And so growing up, my dad was an artist, and I say was because he's passed, but my dad was an artist, and he did a lot of drawing. So I felt like the arts was always around me. And even in high school, you know, I really enjoyed my art class. I wouldn't say I was so skilled and technical, but the focus was really on how it made me feel. And then I always loved helping people. So I'm like, hey, we can merge two together. You know, this is like, you know, peanut butter and jelly. A little bit of talk, a little bit of art making, you know, then you have an art therapist. And so once I realized and did a little bit of research that Drexel University offered an actual degree in it, I decided to pursue art therapy.
Awesome. As a mental health professional, let's talk about your area or areas, because it could be more than one, especially based off of your credentials. What are your areas of expertise?
So like you said, specializing in incorporating art therapy into my therapeutic sessions, also DBT, CBT, and also doing a lot of trauma-informed care. The one thing that I really love about art therapy is that it is unconventional in the sense that it allows people the opportunity to still express themselves and get to a lot of those underlying issues without always feeling compelled to have the words to express what they're going through. Because sometimes the words just aren't there yet. You know, so many times we operate, especially with, you know, survivors of trauma, sometimes we operate in autopilot. And we don't even realize that there's kind of like a disconnect, you know, within ourselves and the world around us. And so with the art making, you know, all the art directors are very tailored specific to each person's treatment plan, but the creation gives the opportunity to just kind of explore some things that may have been suppressed or bottled down, and it brings it up to the forefront. And it serves as a real cool visual timeline. So you can actually not just hear your progression, but you can see progressiveness in the art making process too with the clients I work with.
So how do you determine what aspects of art, so whether it's sculpting, drawing, painting, coloring, or doing creative things with manipulatives, how do you determine what would be best for someone as it relates to their treatment plan?
So that's a really good question. Believe it or not, it is a lot of technicality when it comes to selecting the correct medium. And sometimes it's also a huge indicator based upon the type of medium that the client may choose. So for example, if they're doing a portrait of themselves, a family, or drawing, but they're only sticking to, maybe certain monotones, or just usually just all black, sometimes, not all the time, this is not a, formula, it's not math, it's not, but usually if I want a client who's really depressed to start to kind of tap into some affects, some feelings, some other types of emotions, I may begin to incorporate different colors of a particular type of color pencils. Sometimes if a client is, let's just say I'm working with children and they are very impulsive, right? I wouldn't choose paint to give them because the impulsivity is already there. And sometimes that medium is so loose that it doesn't help to manage it. It kind of just nurture it even more. So I may want to give them something a little bit like a felt tip marker, something that has a little bit of structure to it so they can learn how to hone in. So it's definitely some levels to it. It's definitely some levels to it. But at the end of the day, because another myth that I received a lot with clients who decide to engage in art therapy or just inquiring is, do I have to have artistic ability? And the answer is no. It's not about the product, but the process. When we're doing family drawings, you have to tap into your memory bank and start to kind of do some reflection to kind of think about those experiences and those memories, and attach to those experiences and memories are feelings and thoughts, and all of that is being projected onto that paper. And it serves as a really, I feel like it's a very cathartic communication vehicle in this session. But I also do traditional strict, like verbal therapy as well. But I definitely like incorporating the arts.
And that's wonderful. And I specifically wanted to bring that out because a lot of times when people talk about therapy, when they hear the word therapy, oftentimes they automatically assume that it's the quintessential laying on a couch, talking about how you feel type of thing, because, that's what a lot of people associate therapy with. But I specifically, especially with mental health matters, with Mental Health Awareness Month, wanted to bring out other aspects of mental health matters that, as it relates to therapy, that would also or could also be beneficial to people, and kind of expand people's minds about what therapy is, what it isn't, and then the other forms that could also be beneficial to someone's mental health. And so with that, it's perfect segue to my next question, and that is, what are the benefits of art therapy as it relates to mental health matters?
So some of the benefits is just, number one, healing. I feel like a lot of times people, you were mentioning how when it comes to therapy, there's a lot of preconceived notions. And I know we're not, just to kind of put it out there as well, stigmas comes along with those preconceived notions. And a lot of times people are, may not want to engage in it because of all of the labels that may come along with it. But at the end of the day, what I love and what I noticed also during this pandemic more than ever before was a level of transparency. And when you begin to have that level of transparency and people begin to talk, you realize that, hey, you're not the only one going through that. And it gives them the opportunity to know, to no longer do that, suffer in silence, right? And that, whatever you went through 9 times out of 10, you're not the only one who went through it. And then you have that level of support that begins to emerge. And with that support, you begin to recognize that, hey, I've been through these things. There's no need to have shame or guilt around it, right? But I don't like the way what I've been through, how it transformed me, or I don't understand it and I want to learn more about it. So I feel like, to me, a therapeutic space is not a place of judgment. It's not a space for you to feel like you're crazy, as some people like to say, but it's a space to kind of focus on you. I love it. It's 1 hour of uninterrupted time where you can just really focus on you and begin to reflect on your life to see what works. Does the way I show up in my life, does that work for me anymore? And some people come to find out a level of awareness through the therapeutic process, and they want to move towards change. And so, to answer your question, you can have healing, a level of insight and awareness, which can improve your quality of life, which can improve your health, your confidence, the way you think, and, really taking the time to really focus on how your mental health is being managed is closely linked to even how you thrive in this world. So it's tons of benefits related to therapy. And another thing I wanted to add, Chania, because some people feel like, when they go to a therapist, they're trying to tell me what to do. Well, everyone's style is different. But I will say that when it comes to therapy, it's really about receiving the opportunity to hear another perspective outside of your own. So it's a really good sounding board for that.
And I'm so glad you said that, because I've had a number of conversations with young adults in passing, wherein some of them are skeptical, like they've become almost cynical for some about therapy and seeing a therapist and what a therapist is and what a therapist isn't. And of course, I've no shame in admitting I've seen a therapist, I see a therapist, I believe in Jesus and therapy, and regardless of the form of therapy. So yeah, it might be laying on the couch. It might be me picking up, because as a grown up, as a almost 40-year-old, I do have color pencils, and I do have a box of crayons, and I do have coloring books. I do have a drawing sketch pad. Like, I do have all of that, because some of those things can be cathartic for me and also therapeutic in those moments when I need it the most. And so I'm so glad you said what you said, because I've come across so many millennials who are like, I'm not seeing no therapist. What they gonna do for me? They're gonna try to diagnose me with something. And it's like, no, it's not about that. And much like you just said, it really is about getting an unbiased opinion from somebody else, like you said, to see things from a different perspective that we might not have considered as being the one who has our lived experiences, but someone who can look at those lived experiences and kind of can attest to or speak to us about them as it relates to how it could be impacting us from a mental health perspective.
Absolutely, spot on. Yeah.
So your art therapist, has art therapy ever helped you personally?
I would say yes.
Okay.
I feel like, and it's crazy because I feel like I've been in this field since I was 17 years old. When I say this field, mental health. And I think coming across just so many things that you see in a community, so many things in your personal life, I need healthy outlets. And some people, it may be exercising. Some people, it may be cooking or shopping. For me, it's art, and my dad was the same way, and I always just, say to him as well, I feel like, Angelo, you use art to heal yourself, while I use art to heal other people, because I don't know, it definitely has just so many therapeutic benefits. And just to take it to another level, so when I need some outlets, I just need to kind of decompress. I feel like art does it for me, and so my favorite mediums are acrylic paints, collages, chalk pastels. And I didn't even say this in the beginning, but in 2013, I was talking to my dad and I was showing him some of my artwork, and he was like, wow, you're really pretty good with it. And I'm like, no way, you're just saying that because I'm your daughter. It's like, no, it's really, really good. And he was like, I can tell, the way that you use your colors, it can really speak to an audience. And I'm telling you, Chania, since he kind of spoke that, I feel like he planted a seed in me that I didn't even know existed. And so I would just have like these dreams about just doing an art show. I wanted to start to now, like I already recognized the benefits I had, with engaging in art making, but now I just wanted to kind of integrate the community. See, that's always been my thing. It always been my thing. So I started Artversity. So Artversity is about embracing the diversity of the arts. So whether you're a visual artist, a poet, a musician, I just feel like those are gifts that God has given us. And it's a platform where it's an audience that want to receive it and can heal from it and can vibe to it and, just enjoy themselves. And you was mentioning an art piece. I actually bought I just have a couple of pieces with me, if that's okay.
Sure, absolutely.
And so, I was trying to think, what would I have for my first art show? This is going to be so exciting. And I'm always thinking about, again, like you was asking me, does art help me in my personal ways? And I remember getting off of work and my car was broken into, things were stolen, the windows shattered, and, shrugged it off like, okay, I'm just glad, things are safe and, just trying to move forward. And so as I'm cleaning up the broken glass, it just dawned on me like, yes, these glass pieces will be a part of the collection. And I still have it. So, so this was my piece. You can't tell, but like each, painting that I did, I made sure to include the glass. And I just find ways to kind of transform life situations into something like amazing, So it's like, if I can do it for myself, I love kind of also incorporating that with my clients and showing them as well. And they're like, Ms. Boston, I've never even thought about, art in that way. So.
Yeah, and I think it's absolutely, absolutely beautiful how you took the glass pieces from, in essence, a traumatic experience, and you took the remnants of the man, that'll preach one of these days. You took the remnants of the tragedy and turned it into something beautiful. And was able to turn it into something else that other people will be able to see. And even if they don't know the backstory, I believe that even God himself has a way of even infiltrating art and infiltrating what that, like I said, that tragic situation and that traumatic situation that turned into this beautiful piece of art that people get to walk through and look at a gallery and people get to experience. And so I think that that's absolutely amazing. And that piece is absolutely beautiful as well. And so I think even that alone, even just thinking about it, even that alone, I believe could be therapeutic for someone to take, something, a traumatic situation that may have happened to them and somehow turn that into a work of art as it relates, if they choose to take the route of art therapy. Yes, you can go to a therapist, you can talk about it, but to be able to take some of the pieces, and you can help me with this too, but I think a part of that is almost like taking your power back. Like, because in a lot of traumatic situations, a lot of people feel like, something was taken from me or my power was snatched from me. But to be able to take that and take it back and then turn it into something else, I think it totally adds to, mental health, wellness and health.
And that's also because you were talking, it's so important for you to understand that regardless of your situation, where your power source lies, the origin of it. And it's like, once you understand that your power source is rooted in God, it helps a lot. It helps. To me, that's like fundamental, that's key. It really does shape and shift like how you see things, so.
Absolutely, man. This is absolutely wonderful. One final question. What advice can you offer millennials who may feel like, because you mentioned it earlier, those who are suffering in silence, what advice can you offer millennials who may feel like they are currently suffering in silence, not necessarily based off of trauma. They may be dealing with depression, anxiety, whatever, and they don't want to talk about it. They don't know who to trust to talk about it. Their insurance may not cover a therapist, and they can't pay the out-of-pocket costs. And so they may feel like they're suffering in silence. What can you offer the millennials who may feel that way?
Well, twofold. The first thing I just want to add for millennials who are suffering in silence. I know during that, in that generation, they like to do a lot of research and looking and, for themselves. I challenge them to ask themselves, when it comes to not wanting to speak to a therapist or speak to someone, what is that point of reference? Like, where's that coming from? And to question it and examine it and assess it. Because the different types of thoughts that we feed ourselves comes from somewhere, and we have to be careful, because if we don't closely examine the origin of that source, we could be just blocking our ability to just move forward. And so if you kind of take the time to say, you know what, why don't I want to, finally deal with this? What is actually stopping me? Is it because I'm afraid? Is it because Uncle Bam Bam said only crazy people go there, but he has all types of drama going on in his life? Like, what is the source of those thoughts that you are feeding and actually listening to and taking action on? So I feel like, step number one is ask yourself, what is the origin of those thoughts? And secondly, to ask yourself, do you like the way how you show up? A lot of times people feel like, well, this is just the way it is. It's always been this way. My grandma did it this way. My mom did it this way. This is all that is around me. But do you like the way? We're going to have to shift our sight from looking on the outside and kind of look within. Do you like the way that you show up? Do you feel like you are ready to create something new in your life? I think those two things are very important, because if you don't feel like where you are is problematic, you're never going to look for a solution. You're never going to look for any other type of resources or outlets. So I think it's very important to just kind of see where that's coming from. And, lastly, you were saying people who may not have the insurance and things like that. I don't know about on your end, but I feel like since this whole virtual and with the social media and, people coming out, I feel like it's a lot of information and support groups and people who are now, make sure you do your research on it. You don't want to, but I feel like it's a lot of support groups that's available. A lot of states and places, actually offers different types of support groups, within your community, also your church, different places like that. And yeah. And to my knowledge, and it's about to maybe go into case management mode, to my knowledge, health care, even though it may not, it may vary, but it's made available for everyone. You just have to make sure that you call your Department of Human Resources, wherever your city is, and usually it's healthcare is made available for everyone. And so once you get connected to those healthcare services, you can definitely begin to link to with different types of providers within that network.
Awesome. Thank you so much for this wonderful, timely information. We're certainly grateful for you for your candidness, your sharing, your transparency on tonight, Karana. And this is all the time we have on tonight, guys. I'm so grateful that you all were able to join us. That time flew by. But we're certainly grateful that you all were able to join us tonight, and we certainly do pray that you were able to glean something from tonight's conversation. Of course, we don't ever want to take for granted that everybody knows who Jesus is, that everybody knows who God is and has a relationship. And so if you're tuning in tonight and you don't have a relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ, you're unsaved, you don't know what it means to be saved, you're unsure if you're saved, I want you to make a bold faith move on tonight and type in the chat, "It's me." Maybe you're already saved, but you don't have a church home where you are growing, not just where you are going, and you feel that the Lord is leading you to the Reed Temple A&B Church family to be connected to a body of believers that will help keep you uplifted, encouraged, and accountable. If that is you on tonight and you believe that this applies to you, won't you make a bold faith move and type in the chat, "It's me." Maybe you're already saved and you have a church home where you are growing, but you want to recommit or rededicate your life back to Christ. What does that mean? That means you and Jesus had a functioning relationship. Y'all were tight, y'all were down for each other like 4 flat tires, and you and Jesus broke up and you went on about your way. And the saving grace is Jesus has never left his position. And if that's you on tonight that's saying, "I've tried this thing called life independent of Christ, and now I want to do this thing called life depending upon Christ." If that's you on tonight, I want you to make a bold faith move and type in the chat, "It's me." Now, maybe you haven't grown as bold in your faith just yet to make a public declaration by typing in the chat, and that's perfectly fine. If that's you on tonight, won't you head on over to www.reedtemple.org/cares, and someone will most certainly be in communication with you and meet you at your point of need. Last but certainly not least, if you would like to sow a seed into the life of this ministry here at Reed Temple, not just for Millennial Conversations, but that of the church, so that we can continue to do the work of the Lord in the church as well as in the community, won't you follow the directions that are on your screen right now? And sow the seed that God places upon your heart to sow, no matter how great, no matter how small. And just as you give, just make sure you do so with a very, very cheerful heart. Again, we want to thank Corona Boston for being with us on tonight. Listen, if y'all didn't catch it and you got to catch the replay, that's fine. Share it, repost it, make sure you share it, use the hashtag RTMC, hashtag mental health matters. We want to make sure that we are all connected and we're all getting the help that we need, and that ultimately my desire is for all of us to be holistically healthy. A lot of times we talk about being healthy and we think it's only about our physical health and eating right and exercising. Holistic healthiness and wellness also includes mental health. And so as we continue to strive to ensure that we are all holistically healthy, just continue to keep in mind that mental health matters, because mental health matters. Join us again next week for another Millennial Conversations. Take care.